Right. So let's go ahead and start our file 4 script in the same way that we started our file 1, 2, and 3 script, right? It starts with the same situation where we're going to select something and reference it into Grasshopper. Step number 2 that we just talked about on the paper was to get the endpoints, yeah? And good news for us is we already learned how to do that. It's already on our canvas. So we'll copy and paste that down here. We're in green mode, so we can see that that's already got the endpoints. And we discussed on paper how those endpoints would end up being the exact same endpoints of the arc that we're looking to do, which looks kind of like this, yeah? So that was step number 2. Step number 3 was to get the midpoint, right? So we said we got to create 3 points. So get the midpoint of our curve. And we knew that the final port of call was going to be a 3-point arc, right? So 3-point arc. Again, we get lucky this time. You guys should be good enough now to try and find tools on your own. There is a 3-point arc tool. And we know that this is in 4 sites, but we know right now we only have 2 of the points of that arc for sure. We could even hook them up if we wanted to, but let's focus on the point at hand. Let's get the midpoint. Again, we've already been equipped to get the midpoint. And we had drawn this on the board that, listen, at this point we have 3 points, but as long as we have just this curve, there's nothing we can do to make the 3-point arc. So the next thing we got to be able to do is we had said, move this point down. Move this point down. And that is where we might run into some problems here. So let's set that up. And this is where we would say, okay, what is it that we mean? And we say, well, we want to just take that point from here down to here, yeah? So we can do what we set out to do. The first things first, what can we do? Say move. And if you look at this one's from the BOM, so we know it's not that one. It says it right there, method of the BHUI. This one is move. Translate, move, an object along a vector. That is what we want to do. But just like before, when we were up here, and we said, well, it's a nice, great rotate command, but it's predicated on some inputs that we don't actually have. In the same way, this move point down, what does it do? Base geometry. Well, first of all, it moves an object along a vector. So the geometry is the object itself, the base geometry. In this case, we know we're trying to move this guy. So we know that he's a guy who goes in there. But the translation vector is right now 0, 0, 10, which is why we don't see any difference on the screen between here and here. If we go to perspective view, we will see a difference that he's actually being moved upwards, if you can see that right there. So that's obviously not what we want. And now it's very clear that we need to be able to define a vector that defines what down is. So our algorithm on paper is not specific enough for the computer. You can't just say down. Down implies that you kind of already know the context of what we're talking about. We haven't defined down at all. And just like we were in a problem before where we didn't define the plane of our problem, now we haven't defined what down is. So we have to go back to the paper on the input-output board and try and solve this problem given the new information that we know. So let's go do that.